The greatest danger to your life is not the enemy you see in battle, but the poison that hides behind a smile. Toxic people, manipulators, liars, parasites. They feed on your kindness and drain your strength. And yet, most people make the fatal mistake of confronting them directly and losing everything. But Machiavelli would never play so foolishly. Today, I will reveal to you 7 cold laws to deal with toxic people. Not with emotion, not with mercy, but with strategy. The fool argues, the wise man watches. Remember this, for it is the first law when dealing with toxic people. They thrive on confrontation, on the clash of voices, on the theater of drama. The moment you challenge them directly, you step into their arena where they are already trained to win. And worse still, they don't win with truth, they win with exhaustion. They chip away at you piece by piece until your energy is gone and their poison seeps into your spirit. The art of survival is not to meet them head-on, but to watch in silence. Silence is not weakness, it is surveillance. The hunter does not roar at the lion before the strike. He crouches low. He studies the beast. He learns its patterns. Only then does he know where to strike. In the same way, you must let the toxic person speak, act, and reveal themselves. They cannot help it. They expose their flaws, their insecurities, and their constant hunger for validation. But you must resist the temptation to respond. Let them believe they are in control, while in reality you are the one quietly gathering power. Consider how many strong people have fallen not because they lacked ability, but because they wasted it in useless arguments. A toxic person thrives on your emotions. They want you enraged, defensive, desperate to prove yourself. But when you remain calm, when you refuse to take the bait, you strip them of their greatest weapon. They expect war, but you give them a wall of stillness. That stillness unnerves them, for they cannot manipulate what does not respond. Yet do not mistake this for passivity. Observation in silence is an active calculation. Each time they talk, you notice their weaknesses. Each time they act, you spot their patterns. Like a general studying an enemy camp, you begin to see where their defenses are thin, where their ego blinds them, where their mask slips. In time, they reveal the blueprint of their own downfall, and all the while, they think you are too timid to fight. This is the greatest deception. The moment they underestimate you is the moment you become untouchable. But you must be disciplined, because silence demands patience, and patience is a form of power. The longer you refuse to engage on their terms, the more they unravel. They expect immediate resistance. They crave the game of conflict. But when you deny them this battlefield, they grow restless, reckless, and careless. That is when you begin to guide the situation, not through force, but through absence. You do not fight fire with fire. You let it burn itself out. And in this way, you prepare yourself for the second law, controlling the battlefield. Law 2. Always control the battlefield. Once you have mastered silence, once you have observed without exposing yourself, you are ready for the second law. Understand this clearly. Power is never neutral. It is always tied to the ground upon which you stand. A toxic person is strongest in chaos, in gossip, in public confrontation. Their battlefield is noise, and they will always try to drag you there because they know you will drown in it while they swim with ease. But a strategist never fights where the enemy commands the terrain. He chooses the ground. He bends the rules of the game. Think of how generals of old never fought in valleys against cavalry, or how Machiavelli himself warned rulers never to confront rebellion in the crowded streets, where mobs had strength in numbers. Instead, the wise ruler shifts the fight, pulling his enemy into terrain they cannot master. The same must be done with toxic people. They will try to provoke you at work, in public, in front of others where they can twist the narrative. They will seek to corner you in moments of anger, where your emotions betray your judgment. Do not grant them this stage. You must strip them of their weapons and force every encounter to occur where you hold the advantage. Sometimes this means changing the place of engagement. If they shout, you respond calmly in private. If they accuse you, you reply only in writing, where every word is measured and permanent. If they attack when you're vulnerable, you delay the interaction until you are steady and untouchable. By shifting the terms, you make their usual tactics useless. It is not enough to dodge their traps. You must place them in a position where they cannot even set the traps in the first place. This law is not about brute strength, but about design. If a toxic person wants to wrestle in the mud, refuse. You fight on stone, where they slip. If they spread rumors, you respond with undeniable facts. If they long for an emotional explosion, you counter with cold reason. If they try to paint you as the villain, you withdraw into silence, letting their own mask crack under its weight. Manipulation only thrives in an environment where it is left unchallenged. Control that environment, and you choke their influence. But you must be cunning. Do not announce this shift. Do not let them realize you are repositioning. To reveal your strategy is to weaken it. Instead, redirect subtly so that they never notice the ground beneath their feet has changed until it is far too late. They may believe they are luring you into battle, but in truth, you are leading them into terrain where their claws are dull and their poison has no effect. And once you've mastered the ground, once you've ensured that every engagement happens where you are strongest, you unlock a new weapon, not through words, not through confrontation, but through absence. Law 3. Starve them of attention. This is where the third law emerges. Starve them of attention. Now that you've learned not to confront directly, and you've shifted the battlefield to your own terms, you are ready for the most devastating tactic of all. Understand this. Toxic people feed not on truth, not on justice, but on attention. They are parasites of energy. Every sigh, every argument, every flare of anger is fuel for their fire. They thrive when you react. Your reaction tells them they have power, that they can disturb your peace, bend your emotions, and control your focus. Once they know this, they will never stop. They will return again and again, feeding on you like a wolf feeding on the same wounded prey until nothing is left. But imagine instead you give them nothing. No spark, no fuel, no reaction. You strip them of the one thing they crave most, your acknowledgement. What happens to fire when no wood is added? It does not rage. It withers. It dies. A toxic person can shout, insult, plot, manipulate, but without your reaction, their words echo into emptiness. You must become deaf to their noise, blind to their gestures, and immune to their provocations. To them, this is worse than war. For war at least gives them significance. Indifference tells them they are nothing. Consider how Machiavelli taught that a prince should never waste resources on petty enemies. For by granting them attention, he elevates them. The same applies here. The moment you argue with a toxic person, you raise them to your level. You make them an opponent in a battle that should never exist. But when you refuse to feed them, when you deny them even the recognition of conflict, you reduce them to dust. You show them they are beneath notice, a shadow without power. And this, more than any insult, is the deepest humiliation for them. The struggle of indifference. Of course, starving them of attention is not easy. Your pride will want to answer back. Your emotions will burn for revenge. Your tongue will itch to deliver the perfect retort. But remember this, power is not found in reaction. Power is found in restraint. Every moment you refuse to respond, you grow stronger. Every silence you hold becomes a fortress they cannot breach. You are not running from battle. You are refusing to give them the privilege of battle in the first place. And in doing so, you preserve your peace, your strength, and your energy, while they weaken themselves with their own noise. But indifference alone is not enough, because while you starve them, you must also shield yourself. Toxic people will search for cracks in your armor, secrets they can exploit, emotions they can weaponize. That is why the next law is essential. It is not enough to be silent and cold. You must also learn to wear masks. Law 4. Always wear the mask. Once silence has starved them and indifference has stripped them of their fuel, the fourth law reveals itself. Never hand them your truth. For truth in the wrong hands is not noble. It is a weapon. Once it leaves your lips, it no longer belongs to you. It belongs to them. A toxic person will never respect your honesty. They will twist it, mock it, and weaponize it. If you confess your weakness, they will strike it. If you share your fears, they will magnify them. If you reveal your heart, they will poison it. This is why you must never walk naked in truth. You must always wear a mask. Many believe that honesty is purity, that wearing your heart openly will earn you respect, loyalty, or love. But Machiavelli warned us that men are not angels, they are wolves. And wolves devour the lamb that walks unguarded. If you live with pure honesty, then to a toxic person you are a banquet. To survive, you must learn the art of concealment. Smile when you must. Nod when it serves you. Even agree when it is useful. But within, reveal nothing. The mask is your shield, and it is also your weapon. Do not think of the mask as lying. Think of it as survival. The mask allows you to control what others see. It lets you project calm when you are boiling inside, confidence when you are uncertain, indifference when you are calculating. A toxic person cannot fight what they cannot read. They search your face for cracks, for signs of weakness. But the mask shows them only what you choose, and in that choice lies power. To reveal nothing is to rob them of control. To show them only the image you want them to see is to manipulate the very battlefield of perception. Some may call this deception, but ask yourself this: is it betrayal to hide your gold from a thief? Is it dishonesty to conceal your weapons until the right moment? The mask is not betrayal. The mask is protection. The wise man wears many faces: the agreeable ally, the indifferent listener, the polite companion. But behind them all stands the calculating mind, untouchable and unseen. Let the toxic one attack the mask. They will waste themselves striking an illusion, never realizing the true self remains untouched, waiting, watching. And the mask is not only for defense, it is also for control. By concealing your truth, you throw the toxic person into a fog of uncertainty. They no longer know your desires, your intentions, your plans. And uncertainty breeds fear. Fear makes them reckless. Fear makes them desperate. And in this desperation, they reveal themselves more openly than ever before. In time, the mask is no longer just protection. It becomes a trap. For the next law teaches you how to strike without ever dirtying your own hands. Law 5. Strike indirectly. Let others fight for you. The fifth law reveals the most elegant form of power: to win without fighting, to destroy without striking, to let others cut down the toxic one while you remain untouched. Direct conflict is costly. It drains your time, your energy, and your peace. Even if you win, you lose something of yourself. The true art of power is to achieve victory without lifting your sword. This is why you must master the indirect strike. A toxic person cannot help but expose themselves. Their arrogance, their lies, their hunger for validation, these are not hidden. They are weapons turned inward. All you must do is create the conditions in which their own poison betrays them. Let them contradict themselves until others see the hypocrisy. Let them overpromise and underdeliver. Let their cruelty show too openly until no one can deny it. Place them in positions where their flaws are impossible to hide, and then step aside. Their own nature will finish the work for you. But circumstances are not your only ally. People themselves can become your weapons if you know how to wield them. Why battle a toxic person directly when others will clash with them for you? Their arrogance will eventually insult someone more powerful than you. Their deceit will eventually catch the attention of a sharper mind. Position yourself so you are never the target, but always the observer. When others move against your enemy, you do not interfere. You let them. You remain clean while your adversary grows bloodied by the hands of another. This is the brilliance of indirect strategy. Your hands remain innocent, your image untarnished. No one can accuse you of scheming, for you have not spoken a word. No one can accuse you of betrayal, for you never struck the blow. The toxic person is undone, not by your attack, but by the weight of their own corruption and the reaction of those they once deceived. And when the dust settles, who remains unharmed? You, for you have not fought, you have endured. And endurance is often the deadliest strike of all. History remembers many such victories. Machiavelli himself admired rulers who destroyed enemies not through war, but through cunning. To make others fight for you is not cowardice, it is mastery. The strongest rulers were those who let factions destroy each other while they remained the arbiters of peace. So too must you learn this art. Do not see the toxic person as an opponent to be crushed by your own hands, but as a fool who will inevitably destroy themselves when placed in the right conditions. And when the world sees their downfall, you stand free of guilt, free of blood, and free of weakness. The coming of the blade. But there will come moments when waiting is not enough. Some poisons are too dangerous to leave untreated. Some parasites cannot be weakened. They must be cut out entirely. And so the time comes for the coldest law of all. The sixth law: cut without warning. Patience, masks, indirect strikes, these are tools for survival. But survival is not the same as freedom. Sometimes the toxic one must not merely be weakened or exposed, but removed completely. And when that time comes, you cannot hesitate. When you cut cleanly, and you cut without warning. Law 6. Cut without warning. There comes a point where patience becomes poison, where observation and restraint turn from strategy into chains. Silence, masks, and indirect strikes can weaken a toxic person, but some poisons cannot be diluted. They must be removed. This is the essence of the sixth law: cut without warning. Mercy is weakness when faced with venom. To delay is to allow the infection to spread further. A ruler who hesitates in eliminating a threat invites rebellion. A man who hesitates in severing ties invites endless torment. There is only one way forward: decisively, cleanly, and without negotiation. The mistake most people make is giving warnings, explanations, or long goodbyes. They tell the toxic person, "I can't do this anymore," or "I need space." They prepare them for the break. And in doing so, they give them time to manipulate, to weep, to beg, to threaten, to poison the minds of others. Machiavelli himself warned against hesitation. A clean strike is feared, respected, and irreversible. A delayed strike invites retaliation. So when the time has come, you do not debate. You do not justify. You do not grant them the stage to perform their drama. You sever ties like the executioner's blade, swift, merciless, and final. This act is not cruel, though the weak will call it so. It is clarity. Toxic people will never change because you have reasoned with them. They will not reform because you explained your pain. The more you talk, the more weapons you hand them. The more you hesitate, the deeper their roots grow in your life. Cutting is not about punishment. It is about preservation. It is about ending the cycle before it consumes you. Imagine a surgeon discovering infection. Does he negotiate with disease? Does he wait to see if the infection improves on its own? No. He takes the knife, and with one precise cut, he removes what will kill the patient. You must be as cold, as precise, as unmoved. If you must block them, block them. If you must walk away, walk and never turn back. If you must sever a relationship, vanish from it as if it never existed. Harsh, yes. Necessary, always. To hesitate is to remain enslaved. And when you cut, something remarkable happens. The toxic person, who once fed on your reactions and thrived on your presence, suddenly faces the terror of absence. They are left with no weapon, no battlefield, no audience. They rage into emptiness, and emptiness gives nothing back. That is the power of decisive separation. It ends not only their influence, but their illusion of control. And in that silence, in the cold void you leave behind, you step into the seventh and final law, the law that crowns all others. Law 7. Always win in silence. The last law, the one that brings all others together, is simple but absolute. Always win in silence. Understand this. The greatest victories are not shouted. They are not celebrated with fireworks. They are quiet. They are alive in the stillness of indifference. A toxic person wants nothing more than your reaction. If you argue, you show them they matter. If you defend yourself, you prove their strike landed. If you try to disprove them, you validate their role in your life. But when you withdraw into silence, when you refuse even to acknowledge their existence, you strip them of the oxygen they depend on. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is the loudest declaration of indifference. And this silence is not passive. It is active power. It is the refusal to play their game, the refusal to meet them on their terms. It is the declaration that they no longer exist in your world. You waste no words on them because your life itself becomes the answer. Every success you build, every step you rise, every moment of peace you enjoy is a dagger into the heart of their illusion of control. They once believed they could disturb you, but your silence shows them they never mattered. What greater defeat can there be for one who thrives on recognition? Think of rulers throughout history who silenced rebellion not by arguing with rebels, but by continuing to thrive. The rebel screams into the void, but the empire marches on. So too must you become like the empire, unmoved, untouchable, steady. Silence is your fortress, and inside it you are unreachable. While they rage, you rest. While they plot, you build. While they poison themselves with bitterness, you grow stronger. In time, your life itself becomes a monument to what they could never destroy: your discipline, your peace, your strength. But silence is not only protection, it is also strategy. When you do not explain yourself, you leave them in uncertainty. They do not know if you are planning, if you are watching, if you are beyond their reach. That uncertainty eats them alive. They imagine threats greater than reality. They invent enemies in the shadows. And all the while, you remain invisible, calm, and untouchable. In silence, you become larger than life, for they cannot measure you, cannot predict you, cannot control you. Many waste their lives trying to prove themselves to others, chasing approval, begging to be understood. But Machiavelli knew the truth. To seek approval is to kneel. True power is not in being understood. It is in being undeniable. You do not need the toxic one to recognize your worth. You do not need them to validate your existence. You let your silence deliver the message that you are beyond their reach, beyond their poison, beyond their petty games. And in that silence, you do not merely survive them, you transcend them. For silence leaves no scars, no lingering chains. It is the art of walking away without even granting them the satisfaction of your anger. It is living in such a way that their shadow cannot follow you. And once you understand this, you no longer fear them. For they have no hold on you. You have starved them, masked yourself, shifted the battlefield, struck indirectly, cut them off, and finally, you reign in Surulsnanti, the crown of victory. But silence itself is not the conclusion. It is the beginning of something greater. For once you learn to win in silence, you step into a world where power is no longer just defense. It becomes creation. Where your life is no longer defined by the toxic, but by the empire you choose to build beyond them. And so we return to the central truth. The world will never run out of toxic people. They will always exist, scheming, manipulating, poisoning the air with their envy and deceit. But you now hold in your hands 7 cold laws that even Machiavelli would respect. The strength to deal with them lies not in kindness, not in naive forgiveness, but in clarity, precision, and ruthless strategy. Do not waste your life trying to fix what was never broken in you. Do not exhaust yourself trying to make peace with those who thrive on conflict. Instead, stand above them, armed with the laws you have learned. Limit their power, cut off their influence, use their own nature against them. And when the moment arrives, strike with decisive strength, never hesitating, never doubting. Remember this: toxic people are not obstacles to your greatness. They are the test of it. They are the fire against which your steel is forged. To master them is to master yourself. To outwit them is to rise beyond the petty games of the weak. And when you rise above them, untouched, unbroken, you will embody what Machiavelli taught centuries ago, that power, once grasped with wisdom and cold precision, can never be taken away. So go forward. Do not be naive. Do not be passive. Do not be prey. Be the one who sees through the mask, who controls the board, and who walks away untouched by venom. That is the art of survival. That is the art of power. That is the Machiavellian way.